Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ustream's TV Gala charity performance to raise money for the Caister Independent Lifeboat. And we are here live in Great Yarmouth in a theatre that we all refer to as the Grain Silo, but it looks a bit like a grain silo. It is the Britannia Theatre at the end of the Britannia Pier that's just been bought by two multi-millionaires who are soon going to be skinned. Unless the sun comes out. Great Yarmouth is wonderful, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? It's the only place where you can get a suntan and pneumonia in the same day. It is absolutely freezing outside. Mind you, it's worse in here. You can go out, you have to warm up. You can go outside and have a little warm up and come back in here. So Dick, how's the fundraising going?
Yeah, it's going well, Jim. I think we're getting up towards where we would expect to be, but with all your help we've had through the season, it's been fantastic. And don't know exact figure what we've got, but we know we're getting well up there.
And of course, people will still be phoning in, donating money. They're going to be able to do it on this show. By phoning up and pledging money. John, was it a gamble to get the boat designed and basically built before you got all the money in the till?
Well, we've always been gamblers, and that seems as though it's come together now, and we just had the capsize trial, so the boat will be fitted out, so hopefully by the end of the summer that'll be operational.
How much money overall will be raised for this, John?
Well, the total cost of the boat is 1.6 million, and then you've got the carriage and the tractor, which is probably another $1.5 million. So you're talking well over 3 million.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But how much is a life worth?
Absolutely. You only got to have one tragedy, and that's the end of it. But when you rescue someone who's in a difficult situation, there's nothing like it. The buzz that I give you, and. There's been many of them over the years. Well, I think we've shown that over the last 50 odd years that we can run a lifeboat station. But we've the young crew. Most of them been brought along through fishing and everything else. They know the sea like the back of their hand. But it seems that the RLI is failing to recruit that sort of people, and they're struggling to find crews. We're not anti-RLI in any way, but the problem is that we're ran by a bunch of lifeboatmen, and I think many of the crews of the RLI feel that they're being ran by a lot of people who have never been to sea on a lifeboat.
RLI struggling to get crews, aren't they, Dick?
Yes, they are, Jim. Yes, we know stations further along from us, and they are. We know that lifeboats on certain stations have been put on or off service because they just haven't got the crew to launch. I mean, our boat had a call 2-3 weeks ago, and they were actually a position 50 miles southeast of the Humber, because after a job which puts them about 40 odd nautical miles northeast of Caister, which is some distance, and they passed Cromer Lifeboat Station, and we couldn't understand why they weren't called, if you know what I mean. But we know he's a walking casualty with a very serious hand injury, but nonetheless, Caister got there, done the job, and that was all over in no time.
So, John, how important is the lifeboat for the actual community of Caister and Great Yarmouth and Norfolk?
Well, there's always a community feeling within the lifeboat. That then goes out into the wider community, the schools, everybody are involved. And, Caister's name, Caister Men Never Turn Back, is based on the history of the lifeboat.
You never turn back, do you, mate?
No, absolutely never.
What do you do, Dick? You have a job at sea, pretty much, don't you?
Yes, I do. I do a bit of work for my son, who runs an offshore wind farm company that supply vessels to take technicians to sea. I do a fair bit of delivery work with my other son for the same company. I retired officially. I said last year that I'm going to pack up. This is my last year, so February just gone was going to be the time when my certification will run out. Then just before Christmas I get a phone call to just say, oh, you're on a survival refresher next week, a firefighting course the following week, and then a first aid course the following week. So I'm back full time pretty much now. I do anything from 72 to 82 hours a week offshore on the wind farm service vessels.
And will they press gang you into being back on the lifeboat?
Yeah, you got no bloody chance.
You got all the work. So, it was showing the wind today at 2 miles an hour here. This is blowing about 15.
This is a radio test, over.
And we can hear you. Holy Ustream can hear you. And so to get up to, we were supposed to go up to Lowestoft today via Ramsgate, but the weather is just so unpredictable at the moment with the highs and lows bashing around. And there's northerly gales blowing in Lowestoft and up that way. And anything north or east is, you don't really want to be going across the estuary and up towards the bulge of the bum of England, if you pardon my expression, in this. So we'll just nip over here today, see the lifeboat, and then come back and then go up my road. I've known the Caister Lifeboat Boys for years and years and years. They're a great bunch, and I first met John Cannell in Great Yarmouth when he was leader of the council, and he persuaded me to come up the shed, and then I never turned back.
Yeah, and touch up and right.
It's always a great pleasure to take the blokes out on my boat, but it does make your bum go a bit tight because you're here with two men who between them have had 90 years at sea. They won't admit that, of course. So now we're going to see where the boat is being built, in a yard on the Isle of Wight. And of course, the wind is blowing a hooligan, the tide is running, and they want me to put this great big ship through that little tiny hole and park it up in front of another lifeboat with a 6-inch gap. And I've got to do it while the buggers are looking at me. I can almost hear Dick laughing as he sees the strain on my face.
Where you want to go on it? Starboard side too.
I have been a mate of these boys for years, and it gives me so much pleasure to be able to help them, to be part of the fundraising. It really is important. But to me, being mates is the most important bit, not just raising the money. This is fucking scary. They are a great bunch, and I vowed never to go out drinking with them again. To be honest with you, it took me 3 years to understand a word they were saying. You've probably got the subtitles on now. Well, here we go. Turning in, into wind, into tide, fingers crossed, clench the bum cheeks, and try and ignore the fact that Dick the coxswain is laughing his head off at me. So, how does this boat differ from the other lifeboats, Ben?
So the challenge with a Caister boat is it's a very bespoke boat to Caister Beach, and so we had to address all of the issues they have with the angle of the beach, the stone, the sand, and the launching carriage. So we worked with the team at Caister to come up with this solution, and here we are building it. So she's reached the end now. She's done the rollover trial, so she's done her capsize trial, which was challenging but successful. And now we're looking forward on 2 weeks' time to put the boat in the water for sea trials.
Dick, I mean, how many years of learning what the Caister boys want has gone into the design of this boat?
Well, since 1969, you think when the RNLI closed the station, we then had an old RNLI Liverpool class boat, top speed 8 knots with the wind up the chuff and the tide. But then we had the first, the Locken 38. She was double the speed of the old one, and then along come the Dutch Valentine class boat. I mean, she was 35 knots, 38 knots, and she could go to Holland and back before I could get to Holland in the old boat. So that's the improvements I've made, and they've learnt a lot from them, and all these lads have been involved with these high-speed service boats like they're being built around the yard here for the offshore wind industry. They've learnt a lot from them. They've learnt a lot. They've got a good report with Diverse Marine, Ben and his crews. And Caister will have the biggest beach launch light will ever be launched off Caister Beach with this new one. And we also, in the other things you have to take into account, that Caister has the softest sand in the British Isles. So it just all those factors rolled into one, and this is what we got here now.
And how high tech is this, Ben, this boat?
Super high tech, so we've got the benefit of covering all the new systems right up to date. So actually current new generation, new release equipment you'd see in the marine market now is already on this boat. Okay. So she can be monitored and actually controlled from the shore. She can be controlled by an iPad. You can set search patterns from an iPad, transfer it to the boat, from the shore, transfer it to the boat. All sorts of computers on board, very high tech.
Okay, and buying one off the shelf like this, how much, boys? Come on.
I reckon you want £2 million for another one.
Oh, yeah, well, Dick's got it there. Look.
Well, we were the first lifeboat in the British Isles to have a jet launch boat. We'd been over to Holland and spoke to David Stockton, an Englishman who designed the Dutch lifeboats, and he said that could operate off the beach at Caister without any problems. So we took it on trials in a force 11 gale, and we found that could do everything what we wanted it to do. So that's how we first come across the beach launch lifeboat, jet powered. This boat will be the biggest beach launch lifeboat in the British Isles, and also the quickest. So we've gone a bit further along that road of development at Caister.
And here is the famous Potterheim Bridge. lots of stories I've told on stage about the bridge that's too low for boats to go under and too narrow for cars to go over. We're going to take a boat through it in a minute and have a little look. But this is where I used to come as a kid, the River Thurn. I used to sit here fishing. I was fishing on this river in 1965 when my dad, in that pub that was over there that's now burnt down, met some people who lived holidaying on a boat. We went back for a drink with them, and they turned out to be Scoutmasters, and they said, "Are you in the Scouts?" "Yes," I said. And they got me an audition for Ralph Reeder's gang show. And that was me, London Palladium, 1966, in the gang show. All down to this River Thurn. And of course, not only do the Case the Lifeboat people look after people at sea, but they also look after aging comedians as they could bang their head on the bridge. Look, there's a lifeboatman now. It's Dick the coxswain being daft. All right, coxswain. Don't get run over. Oh, mind your head, boy. That is low, isn't it? So yeah, we can tell today that Norfolk is a windy county, very flat. So a lot of American bombers here in the Second World War, a lot of planes. And these things, John. Now you always think of windmill, you think of Windy Miller, that it grinds, stuff to make bread and stuff. But what were these initially for, John?
The river level
Yeah.
is much higher than the marsh level.
Yeah.
So therefore they drained the marshes with these windmills.
Right.
And the men who operate the windmills were also the marshmen and kept the dikes clear to drain the land. And that's how all this land was reclaimed, basically on the Dutch method.
Well, as Jeffro said, Norfolk have got some deep dikes.
Absolutely.
And is this one of the oldest windmills? It's quite little, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just one of the smallest, but
Is it?
that's the only white windmill on the Broads.
Really?
So people are very often photographed. I think millions of times that's been photographed over the years.
Will they ever get these working again, John?
This one does work, but electric power has took over now and do all the drainage. And there's another mill just over that way that's now being done up, and just over there is St Benet's Abbey, which was an old abbey of the monks who actually built the Potterham Bridge.
Did they?
Yeah.
So it's their fault, the bastards.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Come on, let's go up the shed. And here's where she is going to live, right? Richard, father and son, look. Two Dicks. Dick and Richard. Big Dick, little Dick.
Ain't found a girl who don't love Dick.
So what's happening to this is this is quite a new shed, but it's going to be altered again now, isn't it?
Yeah, 2004 when the boat behind us turned up.
Yeah.
It was obviously, we had the foresight to build it a little bit bigger than kind of what we needed.
Yeah.
With the new boat coming in now, we've extended the back end, keeping the public off the shop floor because it basically fills it. And
Yeah.
health and safety, health and safety, you have to keep everyone off the shop floor now. So yeah, that's the reason for the extension.
And you keep it open to the public, Dick, so just to let them know where their money's going?
Yeah, they will do. They'll be able to go upstairs and in the cafeteria and sit and have a cup of tea and chat and view the boat from inside the shed, yeah.
Well, it's not just the boat that's got to be paid for. What about the tractor? Who's designing that? What's that about?
Yeah, that's took a bigger thought process than the boat, believe it or not.
Really?
Well, it's an agricultural machine that's not designed to go in the sea, so we've had to make it basically be a boat that doesn't float.
So just explain to people, when you see lifeboats, they go whizzing down that thing. That's why our people volunteer to be lifeboat crews, so they can whiz down that thing into the water. Can't do that here, can they?
No, such a long beach there as well, and the beach changes so much. You get a good old northeasterly or an easterly, it takes sand away from the beach.
Really?
Oh yeah, and that's just destroy the actual. But once the wind came to the south or the southwest, it helped build the beach back up, and it is some of the softest sand in the UK here.
Yeah. So how much is the tractor costing?
To buy the agricultural machine second hand is the most cost effective way of doing it, so we don't ruin a new one. So that was 125k, and it's about the same to do the conversion. So £250,000 just to tow it in there. Then you've got the trailer as well, the hydraulic trailer, which is another £500,000. So we're still £2.5 million.
Saving lives is a costly business, isn't it?
But what price do you put on a life?
price do you put on a lifeboat? If you want to help out, ladies and gentlemen, you will see at the bottom here a little number you can call. There's also a link that you can write down, or I believe if you're clever enough, you can go and scan this funny little black thing like crazy paving on it. Anyway, or just go online and you can donate to the Caister Independent Lifeboat Fund. So thank you, two Dicks.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
It's getting to be well known about the naming of the lifeboat. Dick, how important is it to you personally and the family?
Well, very important. I mean, we at the time of Annette's death, which was quite untimely, although she had been suffering with Parkinson's a bit, but she just went in a decline, was just unbelievable, and she just dropped down dead on the floor, found on the floor by her 80-year-old mother. And I was at work and had to rush home, but we're fairly well medically trained, and they threw everything out to keep Annette, but we could tell from the time that, you know, the time was over, like, and so she was to be an organ donor, which is another sort of point I find needs looking at some point. They said because they couldn't determine the cause of death, they wouldn't allow her to use her organs, and I think with all the things they do now with various blood tests and stuff, that could be changed, but I'm not a medical professional, but that's how it is. So then Richard came to me one day, he said, Dad, we're having a new lifeboat at Caister, he said, I'm looking at it with to be built and doing all the spade work. So he said, should we try and raise enough money to so we can get the boat named after Annette, his mother. He said after Mum, and so that would then be Annette Thurlow. And I said, well, yeah, I'm quite happy with that, and we'll do as much as we can to work with you to raise that money. And because then John, good friend John, got involved, and obviously contacted yourself, and the help we've had from like yourself and John has just been humongous, and we just really want this to happen. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's very important to keep going, and as I said, in the last 12-14 months on the road with you, we've done 15,000 miles, and you know, so I had my car a year and there's actually 16,000 miles on the clock. So we've 15,000 of those with touring with you, Jim. Right. And if I show up, is good luck.
On a cold winter's night, with the storm at its height, the lifeboat answered the call. They pitched and they tossed till we thought they were lost, as we watched from the harbour wall. Though the night was pitch black, there was no turning back, for someone was waiting out there, and each volunteer had to live with his fear as they joined in a silent prayer.
And carry us home, oh, come on, home from the sea. Angels of mercy, answer our plea. And carry us home, home, home from the sea. Carry us safely home from the sea.
As they battled their way across the mouth of the bay, it was blowing like never before. As they gallantly fought, every one of them thought of their loved ones back on the shore. Then a flicker of light, and they knew they were right. There she was on the crest of a wave. She's an old fishing boat, and she's barely afloat, please God, there are souls we can save and carry them home.
Come on, everybody, sing.
Home, home from the sea. Angels of mercy, answer our plea.
Are you all right, Marty?
And carry us home.
They're all pissed.
Home from the sea. Carry us safely home from the sea. And back in the town, on a street that runs down to the sea and the harbour wall, they had gathered in pairs at the foot of the stairs to wait for the radio call. And just before dawn, when all hope was gone, came a hush and a faraway sound. 'Twas the coxswain, he roared, all survivors on board, thank God, and we're homeward bound.
Come on, folks.
To carry them home, home, home from the sea.
Come on.
Angels of mercy, answer our plea, and carry them home, home, home from the sea. Carry them safely home from the sea.
Bit of a key change, boys.
Home, home, home from the sea. Angels of mercy, answer our plea.
It's like a Queen concert at Wembley.
And carry them home, home, home from the sea. Carry them safely home from the sea.
Ladies and gentlemen, your very own Caister independent volunteer lifeboat crew.